Hello, hello. So this is the second big 16 run I timed today. I say big 16 because Grim Battle is generally regarded the hardest 16, and I think City of Threats, I don't know if it's the second hardest. Some people would say it's Stonewalled. In my opinion, it's this key. Timer-wise, Stonewalled is harder. I think this key is harder to heal, easier to mess up. Might not even be true actually. Stonewall is also pretty hard. They share the second hardest spot, I would say. So, starting with the run, right? I think does this even start right here? Oh yeah. uh, you always start by getting the buff here. I think Priest can get it, Rogue and Engineering, if I'm not mistaken. I mind with this for no reason because we end up pulling it anyway. Um, this big beetle is of course a very important mob in general. As you can see, there's always this dot that he applies to the whole group, and on a 16 is obviously does a lot of damage. I end up using my Mindbender pretty early to try to get it reset for the second dot if there is one, which hopefully we're not getting. Yeah, we are not. This would have been almost catastrophic if we got it, because obviously there's no atomic targets to heal off on. Next pull is gonna be dodging this one Swarm Guard to the right, soothing or invising the left Silk Binders here with the buff, and then playing this dangerous pack in the middle. I've wiped to this pack before, and I think what's very important here is not only being very diligent with your Mindbender resets, but also being quick on the dot dispel. I think I end up failing this once. Yeah, I dispel the mage here immediately. You have to dispel the evoker almost immediately. Thankfully, the timer on the dot is kind of lenient. I get my Mindbender up here again. It's always like Mind Blast into Radiance into Reprimand. I try to not pull the Scarabs here on the left. I'm asking myself here, what am I supposed to focus here? I think I focused the wrong target actually. Because I focused the Swarm Guard, but everybody else is like focusing the Herald. Yeah. I'm dipping a bit low here, and if I hadn't dispelled myself instantly here, I think I would have died. This first boss, low key, or even high key, is my least favorite boss in this whole dungeon. It is so easy to die there, and I'm not confident at all in like dealing with the debuffs. So you end up dragged in, and you lost this. I think I use Mindbender here, trying to reset it for the debuffs. And I actually always use Mindbender on the two debuffs here. The way I play this here now is I dispel one pretty early and then let the second expire. And then normally I should get, if I use Mindbender correctly here, I get at least a Radiance into a Reprimand without the Mind Plus buff, but still into this AoE. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so it ends up being enough always. I Rapture here just for fun, and then I use my Mindbender here again. I use it pretty late into this AoE, so it always stays up for the next AoE, as you will see. Here, you see I have 4 seconds left. I use 1 Radiance into 1 Reprimand. I don't even have the Rift up anymore, but it doesn't matter. It's enough healing. And this is basically the whole fight. What can happen in this fight is that the tank randomly flops or calls for a PS. It's a very popular fight for tanks to die. So always be wary of that. This side is dangerous, but also kind of boring because it's always the same thing happening. Sometimes the frontal comes in between two debuffs. And I just think that that these balls are not super visible. You just have to kind of trust in your DPS that you don't send the balls through the boss, and that way you're almost always safe. Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about our comp here. This is a non-shaman comp, which is kind of interesting, I think. Rogue is like there's obviously Rogue and Enha comps. I've seen Enha and Mage comp. Enha DK is very popular, but you very rarely see no Enha. The muscle buff is pretty big. It's also a lot of healing for you as a Disc Priest. But what Rogue brings you, together with Mage, well, the Rogue first and foremost is the 3% DR on the mob. I think it's even more. You can like, I'm not sure. There's like a 3% DR on the mob, so he does 3% less damage. And Mage obviously has like Mage Barrier and Ice Block and stuff like that. This ends a little bit. This ends up being a little bit spicy because I'm like greeting my Mindbender use. I don't want to use it here because I really want to have it ready for this next eyes, these eye packs or whatever you want to call them. Like there's this Eye of the Queen that you have to find, and the whole section revolves around me getting Mindbender ready for the eyes, right? So I use it early here in order to reset it always for the second one, which never really um, never really ends up happening. I think you cannot. I think outside of PI, you actually cannot reset it in between those dots. So as you can see, like there's like 2 seconds left on it, and I get it like barely ready, but it's like it's not enough. I have to start healing, right? And obviously, I'm not gonna use it now that the damage is already over, so I'm just holding it. If I had like 10 or 20% haste more, like permanently, this would not be a problem. But yeah, it's just a very awkward mob to play, I think. So I use my Mindbender here again, Mind Blast, and I will start with a Radiance after the Mind Blast, and then it is kind of free, but the difficulty comes from not having your your Mindbender up for every set. Uh, in these in these next packs, on the next pack I'm gonna have PI ready again, so I'll probably manage to set it in between dots. So we'll use it pretty early here. But you also have the little mobs casting like knives on you, and they actually do a lot of damage. So you have to be. Ideally, you stop these while the dot is up by just fearing them, stunning them, knocking them up, whatever. Mob vanishes, and hopefully we get to reset it here again. I think I do because I had PI up. Yeah, no problem. I Radiance, I Reprimand. A knife goes through on me, but it's fine. I don't even fade because I'm lazy. You should fade, but I think it lines up perfectly with the start. I think this section ends up being kind of slow. We have a little bit of. I'm actually gonna forward this. Yeah, we get like the furthest spawn possible. But it's the same gameplay loop, right? I Mindbender early to catch the first debuff, try to reset it for the second. If it doesn't work, generally also survive. It's not like you immediately die from it. You have to do some healing. You have to at least send a Mind Blast. Yeah, if you don't send a Mind Blast, Radiance, Penance, even if you don't have Shadow Covenant up, you're probably gonna flop. But yeah, this is enough. This comp also has a lot of DR, right? The rook itself is not very tanky, but it gives the 3% DR. My lenience gives 3% DR. The Proud Paladin aura also gives 3% DR, so effectively we were playing a 15. Okay, I'm just gonna skip 30 seconds ahead because we're like riding to the next pack. Like this is a lot of RP, obviously. It's in the house, which I never had this combination of spawns before. Like one in the house, one like far away. And this pack is, I think, dangerous because it's 4 mobs. There's one caster and of course the knife guy. I almost end up dying for it. But I have PI up, so I will definitely get the Mind Bender ready again. I should, right? Oh, I actually don't. Yeah, it's a little bit spicy. Should have. I don't know why I didn't reset it. Probably used it too late on the first. I fear there to stop, I think, a knife's cast. And then because I didn't use it on the second, I just use it here. And it ends up being more than fine. Well, more RP, I think. Yeah. So I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about this boss actually. Maybe I'm gonna pause here for a second. Let me. Okay. So the thing is, I think a mistake that many people make here is, they start this fight off immediately with a Mindbender, and then they don't have it for this first Duskbringer comp. I don't think I'm playing it perfectly either, but the way I like to do it is, I just Rapture Shield these, and if I have a Shaman, they will pop AG to heal the debuffs off. And I use the Mindbender here like 5 seconds. I can even use it earlier. 5 seconds before the AoE, and then I like to Radiance before I have to move. Mind Blast before, obviously, and then Reprimand on the move, Smite to top the group, and then basically wait for the big AoE. With a Shaman, you could like Jetstream remove this with the totem. The talent is called Jetstream. You obviously can also Master Spell this. I end up not doing it because I have Lust running. I know that no one is gonna die anyway. Yeah, I want to rewind this. I'm sorry. The way I played this triple AoE here is a little bit yeah, I have made some thoughts about it. That's what I want to say. Is I actually use the Mindbender like right as the first thing goes out. Is that how I play it? Yeah. And then I typically Radiance just as the second goes out and then move with the Reprimand out. I don't use Reprimand on the first AoE. I just kind of let Mindbender do its thing. I'll talk more about it when we see it for a second time. So once I see the Duskbringer, so the second P1 basically, at like 20 seconds, I know I can use another Mind Blast here to help a little bit with the dots and also use Rapture again. Then you have some awkward dodges. I think I PS myself here. And then I double Radiance, Mind Blast, move out, Smite, and then I think I Master Spell here. Yeah. And that's the Rift explodes as well soon. It doesn't even matter. I didn't even time it that well. But that's basically how I want to play it. Okay, here for the second double AoE. I want to see how I played it here. I just pre-atone a little bit, I think. So this is the first Rhyme Dagger. I just Radiance here and use Mind Blast after it. I don't Mind Blast into it, I Mind Blast after the AoE already happened. And then I keep the Reprimand for the movement and use the Empowered Void Blast to top the group. It's kind of hard to speak on this like live, but if you just rewind it a couple of times, I hope you can see what I'm trying to do. You just want to like do your healing, well, obviously when it's necessary, but also use your Radiance and Reprimand smartly, because it is your most healing that you can do, your Radiance into Reprimand into Void Blast, but the combo actually lasts a little long for you to do it twice. So you have to like choose when are you doing it. So I Radiance here, I Reprimand, I Void Blast. Should have here too. And I think this is kind of dangerous. I don't have a Master Spell, but the boss is dead. I think we almost die here. Yeah. And he pops his Mars Barrier to survive. I actually was very scared of this boss when I first started pushing this season. I had no clue on how to heal it, when to use. I was using Mindbender too early or too late. And you always want to have Mindbender and your Void Rift up for the, I don't know, for the part that is the hardest to heal, right? And also have your Radiance ready to assist with that, because Radiance always gives you 2 Penance Bolts and 80% more smite damage if you have 2 points in HD for the 2 Penance Bolts. I think this section is a bit slow, if I'm not mistaken. The Paladin is very afraid of dying here, which I can understand. We don't have a Shaman, I don't know. Something I'm worried about in this moment is how the fuck are we gonna play this Beetle without Poison Cleansing? Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Do we play both of these? I think we do. The reason why you don't chain here, by the way, is since you have a rogue in the group, a rogue always wants to re-stealth. At least that's how I understand rogue. I think I have to Mind Blast the Void Rift slow here to assist with kiting. Something to be cautious about is which mob do you send your Rift on, your Mind Blast on, because the Rift will generally follow that mob. And ideally you send it on a mob like that is not in the front of the pack, so, because it will get stuck there. So send it on one of the mobs that is like, I don't know, behind the pork. And this ends up being a little bit spicy because there's a lot of knife throws, but not a lot of stops. As you can see, I'm not really stopping because I'm more focused about seeing who the knives land on. I see I have 2 knives on me, so I try to like. My eyes are just glued to the rage frame at this moment. I'm like, oh no, is someone getting 2 knife throws on them, and do I have to shield them? Do I have something ready? Is my reprimand ready so I can just atone them and then fire reprimand into them or into the mob to heal them up quickly again for the next knives and so on. We end up doing something that is not very efficient, I think, which is we could have pulled this whole group into the beetle, but we end up not doing it. We were kind of afraid that yeah, we were kind of afraid that it would be too spicy or something. I don't know. I do not use my PI here because I really want to have it for the beetle. I'm kind of afraid at this point that that the beetle is gonna be the end of us. In hindsight, it would have been better to play this on the beetle because the rogue actually gets a lot more damage from it. but as you will be able to see soon, it ends up not mattering. The beetle dies pretty quickly, and that's very, spoiler alert, it's not very, there's not a lot of things happening on this pull. Because you still have 2 poison dispels, right? Or something I keep forgetting. Evoker can dispel poisons, and of course, Propellitin can as well. And then you have also a mage and a rogue. Rogue can also cloak it, and I don't think mage can get rid of it. I'm not sure. Can they alter it? I'm not sure. But let's see what happens. I do the unthinkable here and PI the rogue instead of the mage because, well, he's the only one having CDs here, and I think single target is still good for them. Yeah. And since I PI'd someone here, I have no problems to reset the Mindbender for the next Venom, which is super important here. I think I call for the Dispel on myself here, yeah. Use the Reprimand to walk out. This is something that is very common that you should internalize. When you know you have to move, just hold the penance. Yeah, it is. You might miss out on the second penance inside your Rift, which gives you less Rift damage, but you get to be more efficient with your, I don't know. The worst thing that can happen to you is having to move and not have any healing during that movement. I think this fucks over a lot of new players. This goes for any healer, like maybe not Holy Paladin, but like Disc Priest or I don't know, any healing class. Yeah. Always try to find out what are buttons that you can press during movement. And maybe you could hold a button for that, especially. This mob also does like a AoE that you want to have some healing for. It is not a lot of damage that it's doing, I think. Yeah, I'm not even fading for it. It's just zero respect for that AoE because it doesn't do a lot of damage. I have Mindbender up and Mind Blast, and it's like we pull the smallies, which ends up triggering the boss, I think. These casts from the, what are they called? I don't know what they're called, but from the like medium-sized mobs absolutely have to be stopped, of course. If they go through, it leaves like a huge dot on people, like these Void Wave. We end up dragging this to the boss, and in my head at this point, I'm like, who's gonna rest a tank if he dies? Like was just a thought going through my head at this moment because we don't have a DK. And the unthinkable happens, unthinkable, and he dies. I'm like, oh no, this is the end of the key, but he gets rest, he bubble taunts, and everything is fine again. I don't think we're playing this perfectly. I think you could soak these either way earlier towards the wall or when they're almost reaching the boss. This way you're kind of like not doing an efficient spawns of these puddles. For the big AoE, I think I end up burying this and I paint up myself here. It is, do I? Yeah, I do. It is very important, in my opinion, to paint up yourself. I think I didn't fade because I had it on CD or something. I'm not sure. And I always start this with well, Mindbender into Mind Blast into double Radiance into while the AoE is still going into a Fed Reprimand into a Void Blast. I try to have 2 Radiances here, and I use them back to back just to boost the penance to make absolutely sure that the group gets topped here. This is not Kajin in like third boss Horns of Infusion. Like you don't have to like portion out your Radiances. You just use both of them back to back because it's a lot of damage. Healing, I mean, for the damage that is coming in. And you always get like, I think, 1 extra Mindbender use in between those huge AoEs. And ideally you have someone with an immunity or, in this case, cloak or spell warding, like soak these balls. Because now is where I'm using healing. Yeah, I don't have time to heal off the debuffs. I'm a little bit late here on the Mind Blast, but I still do the double radiance thing and it ends up working out. For this AoE here, I think I wanna... Yeah. I'm not perfectly using my def CDs here. It is not really that much damage compared to other things in this dungeon. But as you saw, my Fate still had like a little bit of cooldown when I got hit by it, so it was a little bit awkward. You actually don't have Fate or a def CD up for every single ability, so ideally you at least have Fate DR or a shield. I think that's enough on this key level. Maybe not enough on a 18 or 19, I don't know. As you can see, like it's not that much damage. I'm holding off on my Mind Blast here, so I can use it timely when I get this ability again. And here, Mind Blast, Double Radiance, Reprimand, Smite, Smite, Smite. Yeah, and that's the whole fight. I don't think we get a fourth here. I think we just kill the boss. I'm gonna forward this. This is boring. Or we get another AV here. Yeah, see, it doesn't reach 100%, so this is how you know it. There won't be another AV. Because he died. Well, not necessarily because he died, but after this boss, we kind of see it's actually kind of close with the timer. 8 minutes is not a whole lot for, I think, one more pack. Yeah, this pack here and the two mini bosses and the last boss. It's even though no one has died until then, right? I mean, obviously we also don't have a shaman. Shaman would have done more damage than a rogue here. A good shaman at least. And at this point, we're discussing whether to play the beetle first or the little one, the the one who's doing the webs that you have to get out of. Well, it is the little one. It is smaller than the beetle now. What informs our decision here, I think, is if we have CDs up, I think we end up playing this mob first, yeah. But then I also get like the call to send the PI regardless. So it's like, which is something I didn't want to do, because if we use CDs, why not go to the beetle first? That was my basically what I was worried about, to get to the beetle and not have any offensive CDs. They end up telling me it's more important to have defensive CDs, and if they, I don't know what the rationale was, honestly. I do not use my Mindbender here again because I really want to have it up for the beetle, like immediately. We end up getting another Umbral Weave. I don't even Radiance for it, as you can see. I'm not saving it. I just fill it up netty with just a Mind Blast. And I think I'm calling here to wait a second. And then he's pulling. He always starts with a dot. And obviously going to full blast mode already. And I think I use everything here. I sent the basket, basically. No, I don't. I only fade because we were full HP. And the next combo ends up being only a swarm, and I call for Death Cities because I don't have Mindbender here up, and that's what I'm worried about. It ends up being fine, but then, of course, you get the Tremor Slam into the dot here. I bury this, Because here you get the dot immediately, and you have to be kind of quick to start healing immediately and not waste any time here. This next combo is the same from before. It's dot into Tremor Slam. And oh yeah, I think I'm really worried here. Wait, what am I doing here? Why am I not using mine? I want to see. I'm sorry. In my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna use Mindbender here, but I don't. I think I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna save it for the next. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, because I had like Death CDs running, and I thought it was enough or something. I don't know. We get the dot here again, and I have to make the unfortunate call here to send another Mindbender here, and Mind Blast, of course. And we have the dot still ticking on us. The problem is, I want to really start this boss with Mindbender, and I can't. It's on CD now. So what I'm doing here is I bridge the gap with basically with just using Rapture to catch a little bit of the dot, and then just using an anti-mind blast on the splice, which makes this first part a bit spicy in my opinion. It ends up being okay, but in general, how I want to play this fight though is I'm gonna pause here. Yeah, like I would say 5 seconds before the splice starts, I want to use Mindbender, because the earlier I have Mindbender out, as long as it's still up until like after the slam, which it always will, because it's up 15 seconds plus 1 second for every Mind Blast, Penance, and Shadow Death you're using. So it will be up if you use it like here, right here, where I'm like 5 seconds basically, 5 seconds before the dot. Which I end up doing, and I smite a little bit, even though there's no damage. And if I use Mind Blast exactly 5 seconds before the either Tremor Slam or the Umber Reef, I think it's called, the Rift will explode exactly 1 second after the big AoE hit, which means your group is chopped from the damage again. This is basically the bread and butter combo I'm doing here in this fight. But let's see how it... And I also sometimes use a double Radiance here into a big Void Blast just to top here. And you can see the Rift explodes, and we're almost full HP again. And then you get some breathing room from the tank combo. And watch the splice timer, and watch when I'm using Mindbender. I should use it on like now. Yeah, see. And then 5 seconds before the Umbral Weave, I use Mind Blast. See, it's like a dance. Like you always do the same thing. I Radiance, wait until the ball is trying to fly towards me. Use Reprimand on the move, smite, and then let the Rift explode after the Weave, which you as a priest typically are gonna get freedomed out of on, because if you die, this key's over. And as you always as you also can see, it's like I'm trying to dance a little bit on the outside. I'm like living on my own little island. I'm trying to not have to watch other circles as well. I'm just only trying to watch mine. So this is another tank combo. Nothing happens, and I will use Mindbender exactly when the splash timer hits 5, a little bit early. And then I will use Mindbender when the timer hits 5 for Umbral Weave. 1 second late, it's fine. I Radiance, I Reprimand on the move, I Void Blast. I'm actually playing this really consistent, and I think this is a good way to play it. And I think I'm not sure if you can play it better. Maybe on higher keys you need to use the mind. No, probably not. I was thinking if you use the Mind Blast even earlier to let the Rift explode before the AoE, but I don't think you have to. I end up using Barrier here for fun, I think. We also have Lust up now, so resetting the Mindbender is zero issue. So also because it's like the middle part of this whole combo. And in my head, I already know this key's timed. Like there's nothing that can go wrong. I even have Rapture up just to catch some of the first combo, but still I do everything the same. Like I Mind Blast 5 seconds before the ability, I Radiance, I Reprimand, I move. Word Blast, Word Blast, Shadow of Death even. Like very easy. This was a fight that I was also very worried about when I was starting out. It's now almost my favorite part of this whole dungeon because I almost want to say it's a skill check. Sounds a bit rude, but I see a lot of disc priests failing this, and there's two reasons for that. They either use their Mindbender not correctly, and by that I mean they use it too late, or they just don't have enough haste. That's also an issue that can happen. If you don't have enough haste, you can play this correctly and you still won't reset it. as I'm playing this key, I have 38 point, almost 39% haste. And that is kind of crucial to, to resetting your Mindbender. In terms of talents, you can boost your haste a little bit by picking 1 point in borrowed time. So when you shield someone, you get a little bit more haste. It's multiplicative, so it ends up being like 7-8% haste. I'm not even sure what I picked here. Those talents, this one talent point that you have left as a Disc Priest, it ends up being not very consequential. It might have been Schism duration or the Purge of the Wicked extension. Like, basically just need to watch. Did I? No, it was not that because the Purge didn't extend, as you see. So whatever you pick there, it's all fine, I think. What else could I talk about in this key? I think this is a perfect disc fight, honestly. If you can heal this fight, like I do here, you can heal any single fight in any dungeon because all the fights in every dungeon are kind of variation on this whole pattern of well, there's an AoE every so and so seconds, so you use your Mind Bender a little bit early, you use your Mind Blast a little bit early. You Radiance either into the damage or before if it doesn't matter, like if the AoEs were like very short. You try to reset your Mind Bender for the next mechanic. It's always that. Maybe you even hold your reprimand for movement, like I did here. Also happens a lot. It happens, for example, in Stonewalled on this mech boss when you get the dot and you have to switch sides. I'm radiancing and I use my reprimand and I start moving to the other side. This is something you should always do. I also really like the second boss because it kind of teaches you to yeah, I almost want to say be patient, but probably not the right term. Maybe more like rationing out your healing, like not just using it all immediately, but being like, okay, I have Rapture here, I use it only on the dots, and then, yeah, I use the Mind Bender here, and then I Radiance on the move, a Radiance for the Reprimand on the move, and do you know what I'm saying? Like, how we're making sense? Like, because it's very easy to just send everything and then have nothing left. But if like a lot of bosses are doing like combos now, so you have to think about, okay, how do I portion out my healing so it's I have enough healing for every part of the combo. And I think I did this pretty well on this boss, and well, on the last boss you just kind of send everything, but you still have to be wary of do you get to reset your Mindbender or not? And if you don't, you have to ask for strong DevCGs. So yeah, that was this key. I have a Stonewalled in the pipeline, 16. I might do a video on this as well. The Stonewalled was fine. I'm just thinking, because I actually didn't really heal this perfectly, the Stonewall, so I'm like thinking I should even upload this. But I think I will. I think it's also important to show the runs that are not perfectly healed. or where someone dies even, or like something. It's always worth to like learn from your mistakes, so to say.